Folks, up next, we have a familiar face in Ken Brinsden. Ken is the President, MD and CEO of Patriot Battery Metals. He's got a mining engineer background, and prior to Patriot, he was running Pilbara Minerals and indeed Atlas Iron, where I was fortunate to be a member of his geology team. He's lost count, but he thinks this must be about his 10th time on stage at Diggers and Dealers. And in the spare time, Ken is a keen windsurfer, and he's done that for many years. And in more recent years, he's gotten into the growing sport of wing foiling. Please welcome Ken to the stage, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining. It's a pleasure to be with you. As much as I'm suffering through the Montreal and Lithium winters, it really is a pleasure to be with you and explain why I think Patriot and our Shakajuanan project is going to be one of the more important lithium and critical mineral development projects to be considered over the course of the coming years. I'm going to sprinkle in there a bit of additional information about what it means to be working in Quebec. I feel like I've learned a lot about Canada and Quebec in the period of time I've been based there. There's some stuff to really like about Quebec as a mining jurisdiction. And lastly, comments, I guess, about the future of lithium, the lithium world, and why I still think it's a really important place to be. A great sector to be working in, and ultimately, probably, also a very good time to be invested in the sector for the future growth to come. So, at Patriot, for those of you that may not be completely familiar with the story, our Shakajuanan project is in north-central Quebec. Far enough north that it's reasonably remote, but it's not remote from infrastructure. And when you're in the hard rock lithium world, some of that infrastructure is clearly going to be really important to you. So it just so happens that our Shakajuanan story, or discovery story, is only about 40 kilometres from one of the largest hydro dams in Quebec, about 40 kilometres away. And as a result, there's plenty of power. There's road infrastructure that's been built to support a massive infrastructure story in the hydro development scheme. There's airports. We've developed our own significant camp. We've developed our own access road in support of what we expect to be a very big project development in the hard rock lithium world. And when you're exploring for lithium, the geos will tell you you're looking for your LCT pegmatites. That is lithium, cesium, tantalum pegmatites, the so-called LCT pegmatites. And what we have at Shakajuanan has proven to be absolutely outstanding in each of those categories. We have the largest hard rock lithium resource all the way through the Americas. Our expectation is if we keep drilling it, inevitably the resource base is going to continue to grow. Subsets of it are incredibly high grade, and I'll have a little bit more to say about that later on. So that's the lithium. But in the cesium category, we've now announced a discovery that absolutely blitzes anything else discovered historically in total. So we've got about 2.3 million tonnes in resource. Again, subsets of it are incredibly high grade. In fact, the highest grade pod at about 10.5% cesium dioxide, is actually larger than today's largest resource. But then we have another 2.3 million tonnes. So it's pretty incredible what's happened in the world of cesium and our discovery. I'm going to explain a little bit more about why that's important. And lastly, the tantalum. The tantalum is a really important co-product, and it's also high grade. Each of these is really just a key pointer to how good the geology is at Shakajuanan. It really is incredible, and a pretty important critical minerals discovery at a time when the critical minerals story is crucial to the West. So, in summary, we have the right geology, and now we're incredibly focused on going through the discipline in delivering the project. So the lithium project, that is lithium only, feasibility study is not far away. It'll be delivered during the current quarter, and it'll explain what it means to deliver a big lithium project at our CV5 resource. Unfortunately, at least not yet, it doesn't include the cesium and the tantalum. That will come during the detailed engineering phase. So the economic upside that we believe is going to be available through the combination of cesium and tantalum, that'll come in the subsequent period when we're going through the detailed engineering phase. To explain just how good this geology is, I need to make an analogy, and I'm not going to apologise for it. Shagajuwanan in lithium is pretty much as good as Greenbushes, the absolute gold standard in the hard rock lithium world. Our overall resource is about the same as Greenbushes. It sits at about 1.4, just over 1.4% lithium. But subsets of it, like at Greenbushes, are incredibly high grade. There's 25 million tonnes of contiguous resource inside our CV5 resource. That's 25 million tonnes at 2% lithium as mined. So that's after mining dilution. Today at Greenbushes, they mine, let's say, something like about 1.8% lithium. So it is absolutely outstanding and a key, again, going to be a key contributor to the success of the project over time. It really is that good in the lithium world, but it doesn't stop there. Coming back to the cesium, we've made a new discovery, and I'll explain why we think cesium's important, but the scale of the discovery that we've made basically makes everything else look like chicken feed. There's two key zones, the Rigel and the Vega zone at our CV13 deposit, which is about 3 to 4 kilometres further west from the main CV5 deposit. And at CV13, we've discovered concentration or zonation of pollucite mineralisation. Pollucite is to cesium what spodumene is to lithium. Think about them kind of in a similar light. So we're targeting the pollucite mineralisation. A subset of it is unbelievably high grade in the form of the Rigel zone. You've got about 160,000 tonnes at just over 10% cesium. That's direct shipping pollucite. 10% is basically what you can feed your chemical plant. Direct shipping cesium. And it's already bigger than the next biggest resource globally, at least that we know of, that's published. So the scale in the discovery here is something to behold. It really is significant. Now, why is that important? Because cesium today, the cesium market is in effect supply constrained. The resources are 100% controlled by the Chinese, 100%. They own every mine globally, well, pretty much every primary mine globally. So if you're wondering about concentration risk, well, the cesium world is the pure definition, and they control about 80 to 90% of the chemical capacity. So when people think about the cesium market and its uses today, the oil and gas industry for heavy media, deep drilling, the medical imaging industry, it's a subset of the optoelectrical industry, they think about a lack of cesium supply. But with the sort of discovery that we've made, there's an opportunity to completely change the game for supply in terms of abundance, but also in respect of diminishing that risk in the China supply chain, i.e. a truly independent Western supply chain, making cesium abundant. Now that's important because of the solar world. Today, the silicon matrix that's in your average solar panel represents the pinnacle for the delivery. So efficiency of about 25%, conversion of light to electricity. But in the last 10 to 15 years, researchers started to centre on these so-called perovskite crystal structures. And it just so happens that the most efficient of those perovskite crystal structures includes cesium. And you get a massive boost in solar efficiency. You go from 25% conversion of electricity to light, you go to 35%, so a really big boost. However, no one's been prepared to deploy that technology. It's largely ready to go at a demonstration scale because of the issues around abundance of cesium and the concentration risk running through the China supply chain. So if you can change that, the addressable market for cesium grows substantially. In papers that you read around the application of these perovskite structures, you could potentially grow the market 10 to 20 times in terms of cesium demand. So the discovery itself is a really important lever through to value and growth in the market. What do we do about it? Well, the first step is to publish an almighty resource, an amazing discovery, and now to engage with the industry downstream to try and work out the best place to play. How do you get into these incredibly high-value compounds that include cesium, such that you can grow the market into terrestrial solar, and especially for Western markets. So this is the future. There's a lot more work to be done, but the first thing is to have an almighty discovery, and we've definitely got that. So watch this space. In the feasibility study, we're getting close. It's not too far away, and it'll be the lithium-only CV5 study with more optimisation to come. In Quebec, it's a highly, I somewhat jokingly refer to Quebec as French-speaking Western Australia. You want to be in Quebec, you want to be in the James Bay region, it's a bit like being in WA. You don't want to be developing a mine in New South Wales if you can avoid it. So Quebec's at the better end of the spectrum. By the way, as an aside, First Nations engagement, absolutely first class in the James Bay region with the Cree. And if you're after a model for treaties, modern treaties, to define success for First Nations and success for industry, the James Bay region is the place to look. Actually, in Australia, we should be paying attention to what's happening with respect to First Nations engagement there, because it's a giant leap forward compared to most of where we are here in Australia. So it's a good place to be working, and we're happy to continue to keep progressing our project. Okay, a few comments about lithium. Are we too cautious on lithium demand? Of course, it's a leading question. And the answer is yes, we are. We're definitely being too cautious on demand. There's a good example to follow. In solar, nobody got solar application rates anywhere near right. Year on year, everybody was upgrading their outlook, and they still didn't get it right. So on the right-hand side of the graph there, we followed the World Energy Outlook through the International Energy Agency. Year on year, the forecasts were all too low. This is exactly what's happening in the battery world, but I want to particularly focus on stationary energy storage. We are grossly underestimating just how many lithium-ion batteries are going to make it into stationary energy storage applications. And it pretty much follows that path from solar. We've seen this movie before. China lowers the cost of the panels much faster than Western analysts can ever forecast, and as a result, everyone buys them. It's a pretty simple story, isn't it? Well, it's exactly that phenomenon that's underway now in the lithium-ion battery world. And actually, the evidence points to it as well. Most analysts are forecasting 20% growth for 2025 in lithium raw material demand. June 30's just come and gone. Cars were at 28%, or EVs were at 28% growth, and stationary energy storage was at just over 50% growth. The whole sector is come upgrades on the demand side. What do you draw from that? The industry is going to move back to a more natural state of demand outstripping supply much faster than the Western analysts are currently giving it credit for. That's the real outcome that you're going to see. EV sales, I know people sort of talk about, let's say, North American EV sales as though it's some sort of horror story, and Trump's, creating havoc, Elon's been an idiot, and it's all bad news. But it doesn't matter. North America is not the main game. That was never the main game from a lithium raw material demand point of view. It's all about the rest of the world, and the rest of the world is going gangbusters. Have a look at how many BYD sharks are on the road in Australia. In stationary energy storage, I'm going to double down on those comments. Growth in the June quarter was 120% plus annualised growth. In fact, in June, it was about 200% growth month, year to year. So there's a reasonable chance that in stationary energy storage, we are actually still accelerating. This market is going to be much bigger than the EV market, much bigger. Because global energy networks need to be stabilised, and we need to smooth the available power. We need a lot more energy, of course, but a lot of it's about peaks. Well, the benefit in a battery is you can deal with those peaks by storing energy during the rest of the day, whether it's a fossil fuel equation or a renewable energy equation. We are underestimating this whole stationary energy storage phenomenon, And I think the evidence is pointing towards that. Okay, in summary, I'm really proud to be working with a fantastic team in Montreal. The Quebecois, it's a highly diverse mining economy, and it's pretty rich in history and experience, much like Western Australia. They're doing a better job with First Nations engagement. You've got a one-stop shop through combined approvals that link sole First Nations in the James Bay region with the approvals process. And our team has done that in spades. I'm really pleased to be working with them. In summary, we will keep drilling, albeit not at the scale we've done historically. There's a good chance there's going to be more discoveries because it is an incredibly, it's an amazing piece of geology. And we're going to keep pushing forward with CV5 development, albeit lithium only at this point in time, but with more blue sky to be opened up with the other critical minerals that are there in abundance, cesium and tantalum. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. Lovely to be with you.
Thank you, Ken.